Just a quick question to start us off. Do any of you have any challenges with different generations? Here's some giggles. Yeah, definitely.
Damn kids these days.
Yeah, we tend to hear that a lot. And so how we like to phrase this whole session isn't from the standpoint of what frustrates us, but rather what influenced us as we were growing up. And we find that that really brings value to each of the generations. So if you have a look at this handout here, the thicker one that has the staple in the top corner, it just goes through all of the different generations that we have today that could be in our workplace. I don't know too many traditionalists that are still working today, but there may be some. Yeah. So what I'm going to have you do in just a few minutes, if you could listen to my entire instructions before we move, because if we start moving, we tend to get a little bit confused. What you're going to be doing is getting into your generational groups, and I've organized you by the year that you were born. So if you were born between 1980 and 1992, you're going to be meeting up in this corner. I'm going to jump down to here. If you were born between 1946 and 1964, I'm going to send you to the back corner. Please take a chair with you when you go, but don't move yet. And then my Generation X, I'm going to have you congregate in the middle because chances are you're the largest group here today. And then I might end up having to subdivide you so that we're in groups of about 20 within those major groups. What you're going to do when you get into your groups, I will come around with chart paper and a marker. And you will go through these 18 questions and answer them as a group. And I'll keep time on this one. And you're going to be working as a group, as a large group, answering these questions.
Politics play like a big role in it?
Yeah, exactly. Add in the white so protect the house.
Yeah, post the Yeah, you're expected to graduate.
I'm upgrading my master's.
Work ethic. I know there's something.
Well, that's the next one.
Sorry? Loyalty.
Motivational buttons. What worked for us? Money. Reward.
How many rings was your house and how many rings was the neighbor's?
Yeah, party line. Woo! And it didn't mean it was fun, did it? You just got to hear all the gossip. Hey, that's very fun.
Testing 1, 2. Hey, how's it going tonight, everybody? Woo! Glad you're all out here. And we're starting a strip show. No. Woo! No. All right. Oh, I need my other paper because I don't know what these questions were. I just know the answers.
There you go.
Okay. Thanks.
You're very welcome.
So, social, political, and economic events that affected us. We got on here us baby boomers who were born, in that before, anyways. JFK got shot. First man on the moon. Elvis died. Sorry, but Woodstock, that was a great time. Yeah. First daughter came out of that one. Didn't know about it till a few years later, but whatever. The switch over to metric, that was a big thing for us. We went through all that. The Vietnam War. And then something about hockey. Montreal Canadiens were a dynasty, something like that. So, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, so... And then question number 2, our family structure. I think this affected us the most. What we noticed as baby boomers is that our moms were always at home. Our dads were out working, moms were at home. We had a really good, strong family support as we were growing up. And it was really wonderful to always know that when we got off school, no matter how shitty our day was, we knew mom was going to be there. And that was wonderful. That family structure and the strength of uncles and aunts and just really close, tight-knit families. And I think because we didn't move around a lot. You were born and raised in your communities, and that's where everybody pretty well stayed. So you had good family structure. So that was a good thing. Question number 4, values. Well, I don't know, I don't have much value anymore, but our values, we had a lot of respect. I think that was one of the biggest things that we were taught growing up as boomers was respect. Not just for people that deserved it, but we respect all authority. And it didn't matter what form that came in, our teachers, our parents, the police force, absolutely everybody in our lives, like basically respect your elders kind of thing. So there was a lot of that. And question number 5, work ethic. We were taught to work hard. You got home from school, you had your chores. You do your homework, and then you had your chores, and you worked for what you wanted in your life. So that was what we went through. Nothing was ever handed to us. Ooh, this is good. I'm a little short, can't reach the top of that. And number 7, our communication style was the best, right? It was face to face, none of this. It was, you wanted to talk to somebody, you picked up the phone, or you went out and you went to see them, you got active. It was always face to face. And you had a great communication skill with people, right? You could talk, you could see your friends, and you got good feedback, right? It's personal. And it felt good to be talking to people personally. So that's my presentation.
Just for the record, Glenn and I are on the top. Actually, we were in the wrong group, but we didn't want to leave them. We thought they'd get lonely. Get lost.
You think it'll be okay?
Do you want them?
It's for your audio.
You could just leave it on the podium.
For sure. There you go.
Well, the first thing we talked about was mortgage rates, and mortgage rates and car loans were in the 20s and high teens. So that was a big difference to go and buy something, and the ability to borrow money was tougher. The national energy crisis went on in the 70s and early 80s. Not many jobs in the oil patch, and of course then that spilled over into other economic factors. So having a job in the late 70s, early 80s was a big impact. And then I guess the residual effect coming out of World War II had on our parents and I guess grandparents, so that was a little bit more close at hand in our families and growing up.
Tied right into that, because our parents, they were born in the Depression, they'd come through World War II. There's a whole different set of values at play there when it came to the households that we grew up in. So more sort of thing, how do you say? We mentioned earlier that our dads worked and our moms, they were there for us when we got home from school. So there's definitely some different things at play when it comes to family structure. We were all talking and it brought back just a flood of memories of every Saturday or Sunday was cousins and aunts and uncles and family dinners. I come from a Ukrainian and Polish family on either side. Those are big gatherings, right? Big gatherings. Number 3, 4. Values demonstrated by those who influence us.
So that was respect. As kids, we were taught respect was first and foremost, and I think the other group talked about it, respect your elders. But just even things like school teachers, policemen, the doctor, all those things, people that were of authority, you just automatically had respect for them whether you knew them or not. Integrity was a big thing. Just people knew that you were taught that to have integrity, and then people would then have trust in you what you did. Back talk, well, back talk backhand was what somebody said. And the other thing, what was motivators was, we talked about the other session, was fear. There's for sure some fear. And corporal punishment. So most of you guys, the younger generations, will know that word or term. So anyway, just a little different about how everyday life went on.
But the other item we felt was, on our top 5 was work ethic. If you had a job, if you appreciated it, and you're happy to have it, never mind how you were treated. Brought back a story that I related to the group I wanted to relate to the group I didn't. I quit a job. This is in the early 80s. Unemployment in my age group was 40% in the interior of BC. I got a job at a greenhouse at the local lumber company. It was a gravy job that paid $18 an hour. Back then, it was union. It was wonderful. And I almost got killed on the first day. And I went to complain to the safety supervisor about the working conditions because I wasn't wearing a hard hat. I wasn't wearing steel-toe boots, and a piece of angle iron slid off this greenhouse we were building to settle with my arm. And 6 inches the other way, the guy said, "Glenn, don't move." 6 inches the other way would have been right through my head. And I quit because I couldn't find the safety supervisor because he had gone to the bar to have a beer with the foreman over lunch while the rest of us sat there cooking our hot dogs over the fire. And I quit. I hopped in my mom and dad's car and went home. And I got a talking to like you wouldn't believe that you don't quit a job no matter what. So work ethic is very important. Yeah. So work versus personal life. Work comes first. It says here our attitude towards balance, and I think a lot of us would agree. And maybe there was that there is a balance. You try and reach some sort of harmony. At best, that's all you can achieve. It was your career and your work kind of before all else. Is how we were raised, or the environment that we came up in.
And then the last one was 18. So I think, most of us probably we're getting to that age. First thing we think about is our health. I think sometimes when you're younger, you do take it for granted. But then to have family and make that important to you. And I think as you get older, you realize how important it is to you as your kids grow up and they start spreading their wings and moving on. Toys was important, obviously to some, getting out and being able to enjoy and play in life for, reward for the work that we've done for all those years. And career, to be able to look back and have a career that is rewarding and know that you've done a good job or that you can maybe gain some respect in your community or in your workforce from your fellow workers. Some people still have a second home to go in and maybe get away somewhere that's a little warmer than it is here in Alberta. And the financial comfort, just to know that you're going to be okay and that the future is not scary, to know that you're going to go through the latter part of your life comfortably and without worry.
That's it. That's our group's top 5.
Well, we're similar to the other generation in many ways, I think, on the one end. So our top 5 we chose. Work ethic. I think most of us were taught to work hard. Words of my dad: keep your head down and your ass up and do your job. That was about it. That's all we ever told me. Number 9, how we interact with others. We talk on the phone. We talk face to face. Ran down the street to our friend's house because they lived at the end of the block, and it was totally okay for us to go there by ourselves. Ride our pedal bikes, or kick the can in the alley. Number 10, how did we access the news? AM radio. We watched the news on TV and probably talked a little bit at work to other people, but that was about the extent of the news. CBC on Sunday nights, I think, is what probably most of us grew up with or watched. No tweets and social media. Still don't know how to do that. Number 12, our view toward the company was we respected the company that we work for, and we wouldn't talk bad about them. You wouldn't hear, you wouldn't complain about your employer. You were loyal, you worked, you loved where you worked because it was your job. And number 16, relationship with technology. Thank God I had kids who showed me how to use my phone, who I would bring things home and they would teach me how to use them. We were, I think, on the one end of our generation, computers were coming in school. What did you say, the Commodore 64 or whatever was, yeah. I think Ms. Pac-Man was in bars at the time. Walla, that was our introduction to video games. So technology, it's a tough thing sometimes for some of us to grab onto and learn, but I think we've done an okay job of it. I think that's it for our top line.
So top 5, number 1, what influenced our development? Social, political, and economic events. What happened that had an impact on us? We said Ronald Reagan was shot. The Gretzky trade, that was big. The collapse of the Berlin Wall. And the space shuttle Challenger explosion. GST came about. The Loonie came about. Free trade. And someone said the death of John Tammy. Which is a good one, because he was very influential. Okay, and then we picked number 5, work ethic. What was the work ethic between previous generations and ours? And we thought that we were definitely more driven. Our generation was more driven, and we also started working earlier. Somebody in our group mentioned they had a job as early as 14. So yeah, we thought we were a little bit more driven. And then number 6, preferred leadership styles. How did you want to be treated? So how were we treated? How do we want to be treated? So we said that in our generation, it was way more totalitarian. It was just more, there was a leader and you listened and you did what they said, and there wasn't as much like democracy. It was just totalitarian. And we also were led by example. So what our parents did and how we watched them lead is how we kind of lived our lives and stuff. And so yeah, more totalitarian versus democracy. Okay, then we picked number 7, communication style. What was it? And we said face-to-face, definitely more face-to-face, and then we also felt that we were less needy. We weren't always, like if you went out at night and said to your folks, okay, I'll be home at 11, you just went out and got back at 11. You didn't text them, you didn't call them, you didn't, talk to them 20 times that night. You just left the house and came home. And then we had one more. Number 14. What was our desired rewards? How did we expect to be rewarded for our work? And so back then, more it was a paycheck. That's how did we get rewarded? We got rewarded by a paycheck, maybe a promotion or a raise. And that was pretty much how we were rewarded. We didn't talk about, how we felt about our work and, were we part of the team and all that. It was just, here's your paycheck, or no, you are fired. One of the two. So yeah, that was our top 5.
The overly dramatic is how we feel about it. Sure.
Perfect.
That's where we're getting at.
All right.
Okay, so first one we felt was number 2, the family structure that's in a constant state of change. You're never in a committed relationship. You're never with one person or 5 people or 12. Everything is always on to the next step. It's never about what's the long-term goal. This works now, we'll change it for later. The other one we thought of was number 5 in the work ethic, that it's incredibly diminishing. That's all about working smarter, not harder. How much can I get done in the shortest amount of time possible, rather than, like the baby boomers, going to work and working our butts off, fingers to the bone all day long. The other one we came up with was the view towards the company, and that is the face is irrelevant. We don't care what the man looks like. It's a means to an end, right? We're there to get the money that we need, and that's it. It didn't matter. And then I'm going to change it a little bit. I can. I'm in sales. So 17 and 18 kind of combined together. The whole premise being the expectations in life and the definition of success. The idea is, how awesome do I look to everyone? How visible am I? Go big or go home, right? That's the whole idea behind everything. So to make it even, say we did 5, our relationship with technology. The word that was used was an addiction, and I thought that was perfect. That we can't seem to live without it. We always have to have a phone in our hands, our iPads, our connection to technology is so connection.
Okay.
I'm not quite as serious as Mr. Salesman there. I'm a technician, a little more laid back. But we chose in the top 5 because we thought those are probably the best questions anyway. Things that we thought were big deals for number 1 was social, political, and economic was 9/11. We all agreed that was the first thing that we talked about. We all remember we were being in high school, and then teachers rolling, like in my school, teachers rolled TVs into the room and we watched the smoke coming from the towers. That was a big deal for us. Phones, texting, iPhone. I think we were the first generation to use it. I think I was 13 when I sent my first text. So that was a big deal to us. The old dial-up, everybody remembers dialing up on the computers. North Korea, like just because they're always doing their nuclear testing, stuff like that. Global warming has been a big issue for us. Nintendo, 90s TV, music, like the show Friends, that was a big deal for our generation. We couldn't get enough of those kind of shows. George W. Bush, because of the 9/11, I think, again, and then this is when social media really started kicking off. Like he said, we started getting addicting to where it's almost like there's so many people I know that are my age that are just addicted to like how many likes they get on their Facebook wall and stuff like that. I think that's a big deal to our generation. Number 2, family structure. We feared the spoon or the belt or the shoe. It was all about the golden child. I think there was more of a status. The oldest sibling got the most respect. I don't know if people like that anymore, but that's how it was when we were young. Everything was about sports and minor hockey. We had more outdoor freedom. We went out and played with our friends in the streets and did whatever we wanted. We didn't have all these laws and rules about wearing bike helmets and all this and that. We told our parents knew who we were with, and that was it. Who are you going with? Well, I'm going with Jeff and Tyson, and we're going to go mill around town, right? That was it. There was no question about it. There was one household. Divorce rates are insane now. There wasn't, we all said like it was just one family per household. That's kind of gone now too. And chores, we all had to work on it. And then number 3 was education expectations. You were just expected to get hired in high school. It wasn't a big deal if you entered the workforce. If you graduated, that was the big deal, right? That's why grads were always so huge in our generation. The graduation was a huge celebration in small communities and stuff like that. That was a big, big deal, just to graduate. And then neighborhood discipline. Your parents, I think that was the X generation. They talked about that too. I think we had that also. If your teacher said you were lipping off in class, well, your parents found out about it, and then that was it. You respected your teachers. You were actually failed, which is funny. You were given a mark, not like nowadays where everybody passes, right? You actually had to accept responsibility for the stuff you did. You couldn't blame other things for it. You couldn't push it off. It was your fault, and that was it. Number 4, values. We were hardworking, blue collar, respect is earned. We had deep family ties. I think a lot of people too, maybe not, maybe it was just where I came from, but a lot of people followed the family tree, right? If what your dad did, you maybe did a lot of similar things in your occupation. Teachers, coaches, and peers and community involvement. Your coaches and your peers, and there's a lot more community events you had. I know where I came from, you had in the fall it was Bavarian night, and there was like ladies' night out and things like that. There was a lot more community involvement that you just don't, that doesn't exist anymore. And the last one was work ethic. You were expected to show up on time even if you were hungover. Number 1 rule of household. Give 100%. We expect rewards, recognition, and I think our generation is probably I don't know for sure, but I'm going to say we're the last generation, just judging by my brother because he's 9 years younger. We're the last generation that I think is more willing to volunteer on a personal basis. Like, I'll come and help my buddy build a deck. Or if somebody needs something done, I will go and help them. Say, I know where I grew up, a farmer got injured. You went and you helped him bale his hay for the cattle for this coming year. Like, it was a gathering, right? I think my generation was the last one that was way more willing to do something like that. Like, if I went to ask my brother to do something like that now, he'd say, well, what's in it for me? What do I get paid? Well, nothing. That guy's up shit creek, you have to help him. That was just how it was, right? You'd mow the lawn, and respect is always earned, it was never given. And now I think it's maybe a little bit different, but that's it.
Make it quick for time's sake. Very much like the other group, 9/11, BSC, more recently ISIS, and gas prices, very much social, political, and economic events that we can relate with. Moving to number 6, leadership styles. I think any generation would fall into this, but honesty as an equal, doesn't matter where you work, especially in the dealership, just as an important of a person as anybody in management, and somebody that walks the walk, talks the talk as far as motivational goes. Number 9, social media kind of sums it up. Generation, they like to communicate social media, email, text messages, etc. Number 13, work versus personal life. We talked about volunteering, helping others. Work does not dominate personal life. Give us days off to volunteer, to work in the community. That means something to us. Number 18, define success. A lot has to do with money and happiness, bonuses, things like that. That's how we define success.
Nice. And for the first time in MGI history, we've got 2 digital natives. Come on up, guys.
Oh, shut up.
Give him a hand.
For our generation, we value family. We do value family, friendship, and work. So for work ethic, try to work hard and do what we get asked to do, and either take advice from older coworkers or experienced people. The communication style is very around technology, computers, phones, social media, email and texting. That's what it is. How we access the news, you hear it on radio or TV or cell phones. Yeah. Our relationship to technology it's around us all the time. We use it all the time. That's all we basically do is use technology. We're gaming or we're sleeping. Yeah.
That took a lot of guts. Good job. A couple of things that we often like to point out, and Rick had to go take a nap. He's not feeling the greatest right now, but oftentimes at the office, Rick will burn midnight oil. He's going to get a job done. Myself, Candace, and Ryan, 5 o'clock, see you later. This is my life. Work-life balance is very important to Gen Y and younger, right? We work hard, we play hard. Those are things that we value. Another quick question is basis of communication. If I text a baby boomer, how quickly are you going to respond to me?
I can talk
10 years.
Some instantly. I will text my mom, and she will reply back to me 3 days later. Gen Ys, where are you at? Wave gives away. Gen Ys, I send you a text. When do I get a reply? Immediately. Gen Ys, I call you, I leave a voicemail. How quickly do you respond? We'll text you back. No. So the way that we communicate is just different. And what we really want to do is highlight how important it is to value and to honor the different generations and the different influences that we've had all across our life. And honestly, the biggest thing that we notice is you go from the 2-parent household with our baby boomers, where mom was at home, to now we've got blended families. We've got multiple moms, multiple dads, brothers and sisters that we aren't necessarily even related to anymore. So the family unit has changed dramatically. And that has a big influence on the way that we view the world and the way that we view the company and the way that we do things. So thank you so much for participating and for staying late. I really appreciate it.